Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing a full face using NYX Makeup. I am super excited because this is one of my favorite drugstore brands. I think the quality for the price is always really great with NYX. If you didn't see last week's video, I did a little clip of me going into Ulta and I showed my shopping haul, so I will link that above. As always, if you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell when you want to be notified when I post and upload. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, please like and comment. So I do have my receipt sitting in front of me. I have all my prices and everything, so I can tell you if I think things are worth the price. I spent $75.58 and I bought 8 items. So I think that's super affordable because usually one of my foundations is 40 bucks itself. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with the Angel Veil Skin Perfecting Primer. Now this was $16. I got it on sale for $12.80. I had a 20% off coupon. Now this says it has a velvety light feel to it. So for me that means it's probably super hydrating. So I'm going to go ahead and see how it feels. Let's get that worked in. Kind of blow that on our skin. Now to me it kind of feels very drying. It actually doesn't feel, it's very lightweight. Like I don't feel like I have a lot of primer on my skin, which is super nice because I don't like to feel makeup. So do I think it's worth $16? I don't know because I don't know how it's going to hold up my makeup. So that's something I really can't kind of pinpoint if you want to spend that. I've used primers that are cheaper than that I feel have really hydrated my skin, but also I've used primers that I absolutely love that are $40. So that's your call. I think it feels nice, but it doesn't really put a tacky film on my face, and I feel like I just kind of evened out my skin. But that I don't absolutely hate that. I just feel like it feels kind of drying for being velvety. So the next thing we're going to go into is, I haven't seen a lot of reviews on this. This is a $14 foundation. This is the Total Control Drop Foundation. I haven't seen a lot of reviews, so I went ahead and read some reviews online, and I heard that applying it with a beauty blender kind of doesn't blend out as well. So I'm going to go ahead and use my JS1 brush from Morphe. This is the Jeffree Star Morphe Collab Brush Collection. I absolutely love his brushes, and I think that I've used it with a lot of foundations, and I think it really blends out really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and start by putting a couple of drops and working it into my skin and seeing what it feels like. Now don't mind my shade matching skills. Wow. This is actually super pretty. It's not super high coverage because I can still see some of my blemishes, but I actually really like it. It's very lightweight. I feel like it blends out very nicely. Of course, once I get it all on my skin, I'll kind of get my real feel of it. But so far, it's actually a really nice foundation. Not super heavy, which I actually really like non-heavy foundation. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more on there. And I did read that you can really build this to be full coverage, so I'm super excited to see how buildable it is. Now, I do notice with a brush, this one necessarily don't get streaky lines, but for other ones, you will get streaks and major lines. So with this one, I'm not noticing that. Now, I'm noticing that I have to use a lot of product, but that's because I like a super heavy coverage. Now, if you were just looking for a lightweight, less coverage, this actually would be really great for you. But for me, this is not doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and really squirt some more in there and go ahead and start building it up. Just building it up a little bit better than what it did. Now for one layer, I actually thought that was super pretty. So I'm excited to see how a couple more layers actually really work. Now one thing, it is not drying down super fast, so I'm having a lot of time to play with it, so that's really nice. Really working it into the skin. Now, I suck at shade matching my own skin because I have so many different hues, so I always think it's really nice to kind of bring it down and blend it into your neck. Now, I have a big problem with anything really sticking to my nose, so if anybody has any tips on how to get things to really stay on my nose, that'd be great. But so far, I actually really like the wear of this, and it feels very lightweight. Like, I don't feel like I'm wearing a ton of foundation. Now, let's get up close and personal and tell you what I really think. I feel like I look really dry. I don't know if it's really catching on camera, but I feel really dry, which is kind of sucky because I like to use a lot of powder, but always use a dewy setting spray if you feel like you get really dry and you get really matte and you don't like that. I like to look really hydrated, but overall, I'm noticing that I really can't see a lot of my pores here, which is super nice because I have huge pores right here and they're kind of staying away, which is nice. All right, moving on to concealer, which I'm super excited to try this one. This concealer was $6. It is the NYX Studio Photogenic HD Concealer. This is in the shade Porcelain. So I'm very fair, and I always notice that using like a porcelain shade, because I like to look really bright under the eye, always works really well with me. Now, I can't shade match, like I said, so who knows if this is even going to match. But let's go ahead and get... Now, usually I like to start off softer because you just don't know how the coverage of something is going to be. Now, this is really, I don't know if you're catching it on camera, but kind of orangey, peachy for being a porcelain shade. Now, I like to just do my Cupid's bow on my chin, underneath my eyes, the bridge of my nose, and up on my forehead because this is where I like to look the brightest. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use a brush to blend this out because I actually really like using a brush for my concealer. I think that it helps keep the coverage really high. Now, one thing I'm noticing right off the bat is that it's applying really nicely on this foundation. And it actually matches the shade of the foundation, so it's not super brightening, which is okay. I don't always need it to be like a really light shade. Now, I do notice this is a little bit more liquidy. It's not super thick. It's a little bit more of a thin formula, which is okay. I'm okay with it being thin. I just like a thicker feeling formula because I notice, like, for me, it feels like I'm wearing something. I feel like I'm paying for a good quality. But this was $6, and I'm absolutely not mad at this. I actually really love this concealer. So just blending it out, making sure I get every area that I want to be super brightening. Now, if I see any areas usually that I want a little bit more covered, I will take my concealer and just place it on that area. But I think everything looks pretty good. Just I look very more matte than I would like, and that could just be the primer too. But I'm actually really loving my skin right now. Alright, so the next thing that I bought was $10. This is the High Definition Finishing Powder. I love powders. They are my absolute favorite thing in my makeup step. I like using a powder to really brighten up my under eyes. So this is just like a white translucent powder. I don't like when I have peachy powders because I think they make my face look pink. Now this is just applying on a dry beauty blender because I think that works really well when you're looking for a little bit more pigmentation and a little bit more wear with it. So I'm going to start by placing it underneath my eyes. So before I start creasing, that's always my first step. And then I am just going to pack it into that skin. Really underneath my eyes and brightening that up and really making sure that there's no creases. Wow. This powder really made my skin look flawless. I don't know if you can see that, but this is all powdered right here. See all this texture? It really helped to blur out that texture. Wow, I really love this powder. Now, I have used some of their powder products before, so I do know that I really love their contouring palette. I really love their blushes. I don't usually wear a lot of blush, so I'm super excited for this video and kind of getting to show you guys what I like and what I don't like. It's really hard in the beauty industry to share your thoughts because I feel like a lot of brands don't like that, because if you share a negative review, they're going to feel negatively towards you and not want you to review their products. All right, so I am going in with my JS2, which is just a fluffy powder brush, and I'm just going to start packing this powder in all the areas besides underneath my eyes. This is doing a really great job of blurring out my pores and my texture. So I'm really loving this powder. Now, everybody always asks me, how do you know it's the powder? Well, to me, your skin always is going to have texture until you put a powder on, because a powder is what smooths your skin and makes it all kind of combine to one. So this is actually doing a really great job of blending everything out and making everything look very pretty and beautiful. All right, so this is the look so far. I really love this powder. This is definitely going to be a keep for me. The next step I usually do is I usually go in with my setting spray and kind of give myself a spritz just to kind of let the powder seep in a little bit, because it's just sitting on my skin right now and it kind of helps you blend all that together. So I went in with the Dewy Finish NYX setting spray. I've actually used this before and I actually really love this. This is $8.50. So I actually really love this. I'm just going to start by just doing a couple nice little spritzes. Kind of letting that powder seep in a little bit and blend into my skin. Now, I love that setting spray because it has a little bit of a smell to it, but I absolutely love it because I feel like for the price of it, it actually really helps my skin and I feel super hydrated afterwards. So the next product I am going in with is something I already had. This is a $25 contouring palette, and as you can see, I've used the heck out of this baby, but it is one of my favorite contouring palettes for the price of it. I mean, it has your light shades, your dark shades, it has everything that you need to sculpt your face. So I'm just going to go in with this one right here on my Morphe. This is an E4 brush. It's just a angled kind of fluffy brush, and I'm just going to go in and I'm going to start sculpting my cheekbones. Now, I don't like to look super sculpted. I like to keep more of a natural look to my skin so it doesn't look overly fake or sculpted. So I'm just going to start right up here, about right here, and I'm just going to start kind of tapping and blending that down into my cheekbones. Now, I start with a lighter contour shade usually, and then I kind of like to work up and give more of a deeper finish once I get it all put on. So really fluffing that in and keeping it very nice and light just to start with. Now, I always start with the lighter shade because especially when I do my nose contour, I don't like that to look super contoured. Some people really like their nose to be super contoured. I don't. I like having more of a natural look. Just going under my cheekbone. I feel like this really helps you blend in if you don't have the right foundation shade once you kind of sculpt, kind of get up. Now, as you can see, it's super light. I don't have anything heavy going on. So I'm going to take my E62 brush. This is just an angled brush, and I'm going to go ahead and do my nose contour just kind of on the side of my nose. Now, for those of you who have never owned a Jeffree Star mirror, I love my Jeffree Star mirror. I absolutely think it's awesome. Now, I'm going to go back in with that E4 brush, and I'm just going to dip into this next deeper shade right over here, and just dip into that a little bit, and I'm just going to kind of start by going on the outer corner and fluffing it in very lightly. Just to kind of give a little bit more definition, but keeping it nice and light. Now, I like to kind of fluff it into my hairline because then I know I'm really blending it out and making it look super natural. Now, once you're done with this, you're going to clean up your contour, so it's okay to be a little bit messy. Although if you don't tend to clean up your contour, this is not going to be better for you. You're going to want to use a little bit more of a precise brush and a little bit more of precise application. Alright, so now that my contour is done, I'm actually really loving the look of my skin so far. I'm going to go ahead and dip back into that finishing powder, and this is just going to clean up my contour, and then I am going to clean up underneath my eyes and get ready for the rest of my makeup. Now, I always start like up a little bit and then kind of work it down. Keeping that line super soft, but yet having a really good feel and look to it. Sculpted, but not like too sculpted. Now, some people like to look really sculpted. I just like having more of a natural look. Then I'm going to kind of start applying that just right underneath my eyes. This is my bake now, so really getting on the sides of that nose contour. This will help at the end for you to look super sculpted and have a snatched nose. For those of you who like to do that. The next step I am going to do is I am going to move on to brows. Now, I've never used this brow product, but it's supposed to be like a pomade in a pencil form. So I'm super excited to try that. This is called the Fill and Fluff. I got it in the shade Ash Brown, and this was, let's see, $11. So for my brows, I like my brows to look a little bit more natural looking. Now, one thing I noticed is they have a brush on this. It's more of like a brush instead of a spoolie. So I'm going to go ahead and use, this is my JS... Seven brush. Took me a minute there to find that. And I'm just going to kind of brush my little hairs. Kind of brush them a little bit. And I like to start on the bottom and draw a precise line underneath and then fill in my top. So usually when I start, I kind of warm up the product on the back of my hand. So this kind of helps kind of warm it up and make it so it applies a little bit easier. So I'm just going to start right here. I'm going to start just working this in my brows. Kind of extending it out. Kind of filling it in. And this is really a thick, heavy formula. This is not something I super love because it feels super heavy. I like a little bit more of a natural brow product. I absolutely love the Anastasia Brow Wiz pencil, or her pomades are really good. But we'll see how this looks when I'm done. Now, for somebody who already has a little bit more of a fuller brow, you're probably not going to want to use this type of product because it's going to kind of emphasize that. So I'm going to go ahead and brush this through, and then I'm going to take my spoolie and I'm going to comb my hairs downward and just fill in right here where you can see that little bit of a gap. Just filling in the top of my brow and connecting this side of it. Now, I don't like how waxy this makes my brows feel, but I don't absolutely hate it, but it's just not one of my favorites. Now, I'm going to just kind of flick this and kind of work some of that product through the brow. And then I'm going to see what I feel. And I don't think it's full enough, so I'm just going to emphasize this right here. I always emphasize about the arch of my brow when I'm not super happy with my brow, because the arch is what's going to make it look more thick and full. Now it's okay if you're a little bit messy with your brow because we clean it up with concealer on the end. You want to be super more light about the top of it because that's where you're not going to clean up with concealer. Well, I don't clean the top of my brows with concealer, but some people like that. Now, I do notice that the brush really works in that product, and it really actually makes the product blend through your brow, so I like that. I don't love the formula, but it actually feels pretty nice once you kind of comb it through. Alright, kind of thick, but I'm going to go ahead and do my other brow off camera, and then I am going to clean them up, and I will be back. Alright, I am back and my eyebrows are cleaned up. I am absolutely not hating them. They just feel a little dark and a little thick to me, but of course the shade is probably a little bit off, and I'm not super in love with the formula of the concealer for an eyeshadow base, but I am ready to get started for eyeshadow. So for eyeshadow today, I bought this $7. This is the Ultimate Edit Brights palette. It's like a little petite of the Ultimate Brights palette, so this is going to be fun, and we're going to see how they apply. I don't use eyeshadow primer. I always just use my concealer. So I have already concealed that space, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with this is my JS5. It's just a big fluffy brush, and I am going to dip into this purple shade, and we're going to see how that, and I'm going to put that in my crease, and we're going to see how that blends on top of this concealer. Putting it in there, bringing it in, just adding some soft purple hues just to that crease, kind of blending it out. Now, it's not as pigmented as I would like, and I noticed that in the palette, it looks kind of brighter than what it's feeling, and I feel like it looks a little bit more pinky than purpley, but we will see the finished product. Now I'm just going to start kind of buffing that out and kind of creating more of a dramatic cat eye shape. And I am having to go in quite a bit, so I'm just going to keep working that in my crease and kind of buffing it out. Now I am just going to use the pink shade on a Morphe. This is the 441 brush. This is a big fluffy brush as well, but this is a little bit bigger. I'm going to dip into that pink shade right next to the purple shade, and I am just going to kind of apply that above the purple to kind of give it a little bit more definition. Now I like to bring my eyeshadows super into the corner just because I have smaller eyes and I don't have a lot of lid space, so it kind of makes it look like I do. Now, I'm not noticing, I don't know if it's catching on camera, but I'm not noticing a big shade difference between the purple and the pink. I noticed that they actually look kind of similar, although they are blending out fairly nicely, but I do have to build them a super ton, which for $7 I don't think is a bad thing. Next, I am going to take a Morphe. This is my JS6 brush. This is just a kind of fluffy packing brush, and I'm just going to dip into this blue shade. And I'm going to dip into the blue, and I'm going to start putting that onto my crease, just right in here, kind of packing that in and kind of blending it into the purple. Now I notice it's actually making the purple pop a little bit more. So I'm just going to start blending that. This is one of my favorite blending brushes because it packs really nicely, and I think that your brushes make all the difference on how well your eyeshadow is going to blend. So then I am going to dip back into that blue shade, and I'm just going to start packing it right in this corner and flicking it outward. Now, one thing I really hate is not having like a really super light shade, but that's where you can use multiple products for different uses. And I'm just gonna probably take like my highlighter and do a little bit of a halo. So I'm gonna still kind of build this a little bit more, just so I can kind of get that effect. Now, I'm not super hating the shadows. I just wish they were a little bit more pigmented and bright like they are in the palette, because they look like these look super bright, but then you look at my eye and it doesn't look as bright. I kind of wish it was a little bit more bright. I'm just gonna keep blending into them. Now I'm gonna dip back into my purple shade with my Jeffree Star blending brush, and I'm just going to start buffing out some of that blue just right over top of it. Now, I love being colorful and creative with makeup because I feel like it's an art form and it's a way to express yourself. So I actually love that a lot more brands are coming out with super bright palettes because I think there is a time and a place for having a bright eyeshadow look and expressing yourself. All right, so I am going to go ahead and do my lower lash line. I'm just gonna take my fluffy brush and kind of just buff out some of that bake just so I can kind of do underneath my eye. I am just going to take my, this is an M456 brush from Morphe, and I'm going to dip into this green shade. And like, look how much is picking up on the brush, but it doesn't have a lot of fallout, which is actually really nice. There's a little bit, but it's not a lot. I'm just going to start by kind of buffing that in. Now, it's not really showing up. It's not building as much as the blue did. Which could just be that it kind of needs a couple of tries. Oh, there we go. We're just kind of pick that up and kind of buff it into the corner, but not taking it all the way. And sometimes I think like having a more dramatic eye will make your eyes look a little bit bigger. So I like to kind of blow them out a ton when I do them because I think that kind of helps make my eyes not look so small. What are you thinking so far? I just wish it was a little bit more pigmented. But with drugstore brands, typically I do have to kind of work for the shadows a little bit more. And I'm actually really, really loving this under eye. The green and with the blue and the purple kind of looks really pretty. Now I am going to take another M456 brush and I'm going to dip into this yellowy orangey shade. It's kind of like a mustardy yellow. And I'm just going to dip into that. I'm going to buff that into my corner and into my green. Really picking it up and buffing it. Now this is a little bit different than the colors I normally would wear under my lash line, but I'm actually really liking it. Just for something different, a little bit more springy. Now, I actually really like this. I'm just going to go through and throw a little bit of blue right in this corner to kind of help blend in that green. And there's the finished eye with that part. I'm going to dip into my highlighter shade. Now, we didn't talk about highlighter. This is the Duo Chromatic highlighter. It's called Twilight Tint. It just looks like this. And I'm just going to place that in my... Oh, a lot is picking up on the brush. I'm just going to place that right in my halo. Ooh. Ooh, I really like this. Now this is super pigmented too. So just placing that right in the halo of your eye. Just to kind of give it a little bit more of a open feel. Now, duochromatic means there's a little bit of difference. So on some lighting it might look white, and then in some lighting it's going to look a little bit different. And it's kind of giving off like pinky, blue, purpley shades. So just keeping that in my halo. Then I like to buff out my edges of my halo just with that blue shadow. And I'm just going to kind of buff those out. So there is the eye. I'm going to go ahead and do the other eye off camera, and I'll be back to show you the rest of my look. Alright guys, I am back, and I am absolutely loving this look. I think it's super like tie-dye. It's nice and colorful and bright and ready for spring. I went ahead and placed some highlighter in my inner corners and above my brow, below my brow bone. Sorry. And we're going to go ahead and do the rest. I'm going to start with a little bit of liner. I went ahead and bought the... This is just their crayon, the NYX crayon. This was a $4.49. I just got this at the drugstore. They didn't have any at Ulta. And I'm just going to go ahead and place it in my waterline. Now, I like using like a white in my waterline. Now, I do think this is a little bit of a harder formula in a pencil. Now, if we're being more of a crayon formula, it's a little bit harsh. Now, this just makes your eyes look bigger, so when you go ahead and put on like your mascara and finish your eyes, it will make your eyes appear bigger. And kind of goes with that blown out look. Now, it's just a basic white eyeliner. I don't think there's anything special about it. Now, the mascara that I chose was the Worth the Hype matte. This is a volumizing and lengthening mascara, so I'm super excited to try this. This was $8. So let's see how this applies. Now, I actually really like the brush on that. So we're going to go ahead and just coat our lashes ever so. Kind of bringing it in and working it in. Now, I have really long eyelashes naturally, so every kind of mascara kind of works for me, I feel. Now, in order for me to really notice the difference, there's got to be something really big about it. But I actually really like this. Like, my lashes actually look really good. And do the bottom and see how the bottoms look. Now, I've tried a lot of different mascaras, and I must say this is like one of my favorites from the drugstore. And I'm really loving this eyeshadow look. I really think it's out of the box and fun. Now, if you ever get like mascara touching a little bit, if it's a clump, you can just dust it off, which that was just a little clump. So just dust that off. And then I'm going to go ahead and do lips, and then we'll move on to highlight. So for lips, I am using the NYX I think it's the Lingere, just a nude. I thought this would be really fitting for the look. Now, these retail at $7. I had this at home, so I didn't go and get it. This is in the shade 09. They don't really have names. So we're going to go ahead and just... Oh, I don't like this. It's a super matte formula. And this is too nude for me, but... So this would be definitely not my shade. The formula is super matte and I don't like it, and it's kind of really drying onto my dry patches. But we'll go ahead and give ourselves a spritz with our hydrating dewy mist. Really coating our face, and then we're going to go into our Morphe M501 brush. This is just a highlighting brush. I am going to go ahead, and there's not a lot of, it really picks up a lot of that highlighter. And I'm just going to put a little bit on our cheekbones. Now, I like to have a little bit of wetness on my face when I highlight, because it does pick up a little bit more product. And this is absolutely beautiful and blinding. Oh my God, is that blinding? Now, just kind of working it on my cheekbones. I like to bring it a little bit down a little bit more, just so I can get a little bit more lightness in the contour area. And kind of feather it just ever so slightly up. And then, once I am done with that, sometimes I like to hit just the very tops of my brows. Just right up in there to add some brightness. But man, is that highlighter brightening. Next, I am going to dip into my 431 brush, which is just a pencil, really thin brush. And I am just going to place a little bit of highlighter on my nose, just to bring some attention there. And I always like to just ever so slightly above my cupid's bow. Alright, and I absolutely really love this highlighter. It's so blinding. Now, if you ever go a little bit too intense, I just will kind of take my brush and just kind of fluff it a little. And I am going to give myself one more big spritz of setting spray. Alright, and there is my final look. I absolutely love the shade of this eyeshadow. I love the look of this eyeshadow. I think it's a really creative look. However, they were really hard to blend, and I feel like the tackier the base, the better they blended. So definitely don't set your concealer if that's something you like to do before you blend. And I think that the pink and the purple were way too similar shades, and that when I put this blue on, I think it definitely made a difference and made it more purpley than blue on top of that purple shade already there. But overall, I really love this look, and I think the products really lived up to the expectations. Now, things I would pass on buying. I definitely want to get the primer. I don't think it really did anything for my skin. When I think velvety, I think dewy, and I think that it's going to look a little bit more natural, and it was really drying, and I don't think there was anything special about it. And especially for $16, I want to get something really special about it. The foundation was nice. It was lightweight, and definitely if I'm somebody that's going to want to wear a little bit more of a heavier coverage, I probably wouldn't go in with that as much because I just don't think it really did anything for me. Definitely the powder was one of my favorite things from the look. I really liked this powder. It worked really well. The concealer, hit or miss, depends on your coverage. I don't think it covered really anything that I really like to have covered when I do concealer, so I'd pass on that. The eyeshadow palette I probably wouldn't get. I love it for the look, but it's cheap, it's colorful. If you're gonna wear it and want to play around, yeah, but for something like an everyday palette, I probably wouldn't wear that. The highlighter, I absolutely love this duochrome. I think it's really pretty. It gives off that blue purpley hue to it, and I think it's really gorgeous. The pencil liner was a little bit harsh, and I don't think that was something I really loved. The mascara, definitely get again. Is that everything? The lipstick, too matte for me. I don't like the formula, but their glosses are really pretty. I've used their glosses. The brow product I would probably pass up on. The contour palette is a must. That's something I have at my house all the time. I use that anyways. But overall, I really love this look, and NYX is a really affordable, beautiful brand. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe and like it, and I'll see you guys back next week.